The morning sun of Korith Prime cast long shadows across the prestigious Galactic Military Academy, its 3 moons hanging like forgotten ornaments in the pale sky. Commander Vaktul adjusted his ceremonial rank insignia, the metal clicking against his chitinous chestplate as he strode through the polished corridors. Today was supposed to be routine, boring, even. Show the advanced students some primitive human combat footage, have a few laughs, and call it educational. Attention, all instructors, came the crackling voice through his comm unit. Report to Briefing Room 7 for mandatory curriculum update. Vaktul's 4 eyes rolled in perfect synchronization. Mandatory updates. The bureaucracy never ended, did it? He shuffled into the briefing room where his colleagues had already gathered, looking about as thrilled as a Zephyrian slug in salt water. General Nex, a towering figure with enough battle scars to tell 1,000 stories, cleared his throat. Gentlemen, Command has decided we need to expand our xenobiology combat analysis. Starting today, we're incorporating human battle footage into 3 concurrent classes. Professor Cole, whose specialty was dissecting the weaknesses of various species, snorted through his breathing slits. Humans? Those bipedal meat sacks from that waterlogged rock? Sir, with respect, wouldn't it be more educational to show them how to properly sharpen a blade? Captain Rix, the Academy's tactical warfare expert, leaned back in his chair. I've seen the reports, Cole. These Deathworlders apparently think they can fight. Command wants us to show the students exactly why superior technology and evolution always triumph. Exactly. General Nex nodded, his approval evident. The Strategic Command class, your xenobiology combat analysis, and Captain Rix's advanced warfare theory will all be viewing the same footage. Consider it a joint exercise in understanding primitive species. Vaktul raised a clawed hand. Sir, which footage are we using? The standard recruitment videos? The training exercises? Something better. Nex's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his species. Actual combat footage. Real humans in real battle situations. Command assures me it's quite illuminating. Professor Cole practically vibrated with excitement. Oh, this should be rich. I can already see the lesson plan. How to identify panic responses in carbon-based life forms, recognizing the limitations of calcium-based skeletal structures. This will be the easiest class I've taught in cycles. Captain Rix nodded enthusiastically. My students will learn exactly why proper formation discipline and energy weapon superiority matter. But these humans, they probably just run around screaming and throwing sharp sticks at each other. Precisely the point, General Nex agreed. By the end of today, every student in those 3 classes will understand why the Galactic Coalition remains supreme. They'll see firsthand how a species without proper military evolution handles combat situations. Vaktul felt a small flutter of doubt in his primary stomach. Something about Command's tone had seemed different. But he pushed the thought away. Humans were primitive. Everyone knew that. Their home planet was a nightmare of extreme weather, dangerous wildlife, and unstable geology. Any species that evolved under such conditions would be too focused on mere survival to develop proper military doctrine. The footage will be transmitted to all 3 classrooms simultaneously at 0800 hours, General Nex continued. Duration is approximately 47 minutes. Standard analysis protocols apply. As the briefing ended and the instructors filed out, Vaktul couldn't shake the feeling that today might be more interesting than anticipated. Not that he was worried, of course. What could possibly go wrong when showing advanced military students footage of primitive humans trying to fight? Little did he know, in approximately 2 hours, 3 classes would be cancelled, emergency protocols would be activated, and the entire academy would be questioning everything they thought they knew about warfare. But that was still 96 minutes away. At exactly 0800 hours, the holographic displays flickered to life in 3 separate classrooms across the academy. 237 of the Coalition's finest military minds settled into their seats, expecting nothing more than a routine demonstration of inferior tactics. But Commander Vaktul cleared his throat in the Strategic Command Amphitheater. Students, Today we'll be analyzing combat footage from the species designated as human. Please note their primitive approach to warfare as we begin. The video file loaded with a soft chime. On screen appeared a bipedal figure in what could only be described as laughably basic equipment. The human stood approximately 6 feet tall, covered in mottled green and brown fabric that looked like it had been assembled by blind craftsmen having a particularly bad day. Behold, Professor Cole announced to his xenobiology combat analysis class the human designated as Marcus Kane. Note the crude camouflage pattern, clearly designed by a species that hasn't mastered basic optical science. Student Tell, a promising young officer from the Regelian systems, raised a tentacle. Professor, is that metal protection? It looks so thin I could puncture it with my dining utensil. Precisely correct, Teal, Cole replied with obvious satisfaction. These body armor plates are primitive alloy composites, barely adequate against their own crude projectile weapons, utterly useless against proper energy discharge. In the Advanced Warfare Theory classroom, Captain Rix pointed at the screen with barely concealed amusement. Observe the human's weapon class: chemical propulsion, solid projectiles, mechanical loading mechanism. It's like watching our ancestors from the Stone Age attempting modern warfare. The camera panned to show Marcus Kane's full equipment load: a bulky backpack, numerous pouches, what appeared to be emergency medical supplies, and several items the aliens couldn't immediately identify. "Sir," called out Cadet Zix from the back row, "why does the human carry so many redundant systems? Surely one energy pack would be more efficient than all those things." "Excellent question, Zix," Captain Rix beamed. "This demonstrates the human inability to properly prioritize. They compensate for technological inadequacy through excessive redundancy. Very inefficient." The video continued, showing Marcus Kane briefing his unit. The aliens watched with growing amusement as the human pointed at a tactical display showing their objective. The simulation parameters appeared on screen: one human platoon versus a superior alien force equipped with energy weapons, powered armor, and aerial support. "This should be educational," General Nex murmured from his observation post, monitoring all 3 classes simultaneously. "The humans are outnumbered 3-1, outgunned exponentially, and lack any form of energy shielding." Student Tell's voice carried across the xenobiology classroom. "Professor, this seems almost unfair. Should we be concerned about the psychological impact on human prisoners when they witness their own species' tactical failures?" Professor Cole's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter. "Tell, these humans volunteered for this demonstration. They're probably hoping to learn something from superior military doctrine." The battlefield materialized on screen: a rocky, mountainous terrain with limited cover and multiple elevated positions held by the alien forces. Marcus Kane's voice came through the speakers, calm and measured as he addressed his team. "Gentlemen, we have 37 minutes until full engagement. Standard rules apply." Standard rules. The aliens almost felt sorry for them. Almost. The engagement timer reached 0, and the alien forces moved into position with textbook precision. Energy weapons hummed to life. Powered armor systems activated, and aerial drones assumed overwatch positions. Everything proceeded exactly as military doctrine dictated. Then Marcus Kane did something that made every alien in all 3 classrooms simultaneously lean forward in their seats. He split his platoon. What is he doing?" Student Tell whispered, his voice carrying the confusion of someone watching a mathematical equation solve itself backwards. Professor Cole's breathing slits fluttered nervously. He's dividing his already inferior force. This violates every principle of concentration of firepower. Surely this is some kind of mistake? But Marcus Kane wasn't making mistakes. While the alien simulation forces advanced in perfect formation toward what they assumed would be the human defensive position, Kane's split teams had vanished into the rocky terrain like smoke in a hurricane. "Where did they go?" Captain Rix demanded, his tactical superiority suddenly feeling less superior. "The motion sensors show nothing. The thermal imaging shows nothing. They just disappeared. Commander Vaktul felt his primary stomach clench. Perhaps the equipment is malfunctioning? Humans can't just vanish. They lack proper stealth technology. On screen, the alien simulation forces reached the expected human position and found nothing. Empty rocks. Abandoned equipment. A few scattered supply caches that looked hastily abandoned. Sir, Cadet Zix called out, his voice cracking slightly. The human formations aren't matching any known tactical doctrine. They're moving in patterns that don't make sense. That's when the first alien simulation soldier exploded. Not from energy weapons. Not from advanced technology. From a crude explosive device that had somehow been placed exactly where the alien advance scout would step. Despite the fact that the humans had no way of knowing the alien patrol routes. How? General Nex's voice carried across the communication channel connecting all three classrooms. How did they predict our movement patterns? Professor Cole's mandibles clicked frantically as he pulled up biological analysis charts. Humans don't possess precognitive abilities. Their neural processing speed is significantly slower than ours. They shouldn't be able to anticipate our tactical decisions. But Marcus Kane's humans weren't anticipating. They were adapting. And apparently, adaptation was something the alien military doctrine had never bothered to account for. The second surprise came when the alien aerial drones began experiencing technical difficulties. Not system failures. Not energy weapon attacks. They were being brought down by rocks. Actual rocks, thrown with precision that defied the aliens' understanding of human physical capabilities. That's impossible, Captain Rick sputtered, his tactical analysis program spinning uselessly. Projectile physics clearly states that organic muscle systems cannot generate sufficient velocity to damage military-grade electronics. Student Tell raised a trembling tentacle. Captain, what if they're not trying to damage the electronics? What if they're trying to do something else? Indeed, the humans weren't trying to destroy the drones. They were capturing them. Within minutes, Marcus Kane's soldiers had reverse-engineered the alien technology and were using the drone's own sensors to track the simulation forces. This is highly irregular, Commander Vaktul muttered, his four eyes darting between multiple tactical displays. Humans shouldn't possess the technical knowledge to interface with our systems. But the humans weren't using technical knowledge. They were using creativity, improvisation, and something the aliens had never encountered in warfare, the ability to treat military equipment like children's toys and make it work anyway. The third surprise came when the alien forces realized they were being hunted, not engaged in honorable combat. Hunted. Marcus Kane's scattered teams had somehow turned the entire battlefield into a trap, using terrain features the alien tactical computers had dismissed as irrelevant. Sir, Cadet Zix's voice was barely above a whisper. The humans are using the environment itself as a weapon. They've turned our advantages against us. Professor Cole's breathing had become rapid and shallow. This shouldn't be possible. Humans are supposed to be direct combatants. Primitive. Straightforward. They don't possess the intellectual capacity for this level of strategic thinking. But Marcus Kane's humans weren't thinking like aliens. They were thinking like humans. And that, apparently, was the problem. The alien simulation forces found themselves fighting shadows, chasing ghosts, and walking into traps that shouldn't have existed. Every tactical decision they made was somehow anticipated, countered, and turned into another disadvantage. How are they doing this? General Nex demanded, his voice carrying the first hint of something no alien officer wanted to admit: panic. Marcus Kane's calm voice came through the speakers. Alpha Team, shift to position 3. Bravo Team, execute flanking maneuver 7. Charlie Team, initiate Protocol 9. Protocol 9. The aliens had no idea what Protocol 9 was. They were beginning to realize they had no idea what any of the human protocols were. And that realization was about to become their worst nightmare. Protocol 9, as it turned out, was not something the Galactic Coalition had prepared for. It involved Marcus Kane's Charlie Team doing something so fundamentally absurd that every alien watching questioned whether their translation software was malfunctioning. They began building. Are they constructing something? Student Tell asked, his voice carrying the bewilderment of someone watching a fish decide to fly. In the middle of combat? Professor Cole's mandibles hung open in shock. They're using debris from the battlefield. Rocks, damaged equipment, pieces of destroyed simulation hardware. This is not standard military procedure. But Marcus Kane's humans weren't following standard military procedure. They were following human procedure, which apparently involved turning anything and everything into a weapon, a tool, or a tactical advantage. Within 17 minutes, Charlie Team had constructed what could only be described as a siege engine, not a proper military device, not advanced technology. A siege engine made from rocks, metal scraps, and what appeared to be salvaged drone components. Sir, Cadet Zix's voice cracked with disbelief. They've built a catapult. They built an actual catapult, and they're loading it with are those explosive charges? Captain Rix's tactical analysis programs crashed. Actually crashed. The software couldn't process what it was seeing because it violated every known principle of modern warfare. This is impossible, he muttered, frantically running diagnostic checks. Catapults became obsolete 17,000 years ago. They're using medieval technology against advanced military systems. But Marcus Kane's catapult wasn't medieval. It was human. And it was about to demonstrate why human engineering should never be underestimated. The first projectile sailed through the air with perfect accuracy, striking the alien simulation's primary command post. Not with explosives. Not with advanced munitions. With a net made from parachute cord, weighted with rocks, and designed to disable rather than destroy. They're not trying to kill the enemy, Commander Vaktul realized with growing horror. They're trying to capture them. The alien simulation forces, programmed for combat scenarios, had no protocols for dealing with capture attempts. They froze. Literally froze, as their combat algorithms failed to process this deviation from standard warfare parameters. That's when Marcus Kane's Alpha Team struck. They didn't use advanced weapons. They used coordination. Pure, terrifying, impossibly effective coordination. Each human moved as if they could read their teammates' minds, anticipating actions, covering weaknesses, and supporting each other in ways that defied mathematical probability. How are they communicating? General Nex demanded, his voice rising to near panic levels. Our sensors detect no electronic communication, no psionic links, no data transmission whatsoever. Professor Cole's breathing had become rapid and erratic. Sir, I think they're using gestures, hand signals, facial expressions. They're communicating through physical cues. The implications hit the alien commanders like a meteor strike. These humans were coordinating complex military operations using nothing more than body language. They were operating as a unified force without any technology at all. This can't be happening, Captain Rix whispered, his tactical superiority crumbling like a house of cards in a supernova. They're defeating superior technology with teamwork. But it wasn't just teamwork. It was adaptation. When the alien simulation forces tried to counter the human tactics, Marcus Kane's soldiers simply changed. They abandoned their siege engine and began using the alien force's own momentum against them. They turned retreats into ambushes, defensive positions into launching points, and every alien advantage into a human opportunity. Sir, Student Tell's voice was barely audible. They're not fighting like soldiers. They're fighting like they're playing a game. The observation sent chills through every alien present. Games. Humans were treating military combat like a recreational activity, but they were enjoying themselves. Marcus Kane's laughter came through the speakers as his Bravo team executed a maneuver that was simultaneously brilliant and completely insane. Nice work, people. Remember, we're on a time limit here. Time limit. The aliens had forgotten about the time limit. They checked their chronometers and discovered something that made their collective blood freeze. The humans were winning. Not just surviving. Winning. With 23 minutes still remaining, emergency protocols, General Nex announced, his voice shaking. All department heads report to crisis management immediately. This is not a drill. The announcement echoed through the academy corridors as instructors abandoned their classrooms and students sat in stunned silence. The simple demonstration had become a crisis that threatened everything they thought they knew about warfare. Sir, Commander Vaktool's communication came through the general channel. Should we continue the demonstration? The students they're asking questions I don't know how to answer. Questions like, if humans could do this with primitive equipment, what could they do with advanced technology? If human coordination was this effective without electronic communication, what would happen if they had access to coalition military networks? If these were just regular human soldiers, what were their elite forces capable of? Professor Cole's voice cut through the growing panic. General, I need to inform you that my entire curriculum is now invalid. Everything we've taught about human limitations appears to be incorrect. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Incorrect. The coalition's military doctrine, based on centuries of study and analysis, was incorrect. And Marcus Kane's humans still had 23 minutes to prove just how incorrect it really was. The crisis management room filled with the most distinguished military minds in the galaxy, all staring at screens, showing a single human soldier systematically dismantling everything they thought they knew about warfare. General Nex pulled up Marcus Kane's personnel file, hoping for some explanation that would make this nightmare make sense. What he found made everything infinitely worse. Attention all staff. General Nex's voice carried the weight of impending doom. The human designated Marcus Kane is not a standard soldier. He is former Earth Special Forces with specializations in unconventional warfare, survival tactics, and something called asymmetric combat principles. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Commander Vaktool's voice crackled through the comms. Sir, what exactly are asymmetric combat principles? According to this file, General Nex read with growing horror, it's the art of using inferior resources to defeat superior forces through creativity, adaptation, and psychological warfare. Psychological warfare. The humans weren't just fighting. They were playing mind games with an entire alien civilization, and they were winning. Back in the classrooms, the students had stopped taking notes. They had stopped asking questions. They had stopped believing in their own superiority. Student Tell sat motionless, watching Marcus Kane's team execute what the file labeled as Advanced Tactical Improvisation Protocol 17. Professor Cole, Tell's voice was barely a whisper. How many protocols do they have? Professor Cole checked his xenobiology database, cross-referencing human military documentation. His mandibles began clicking in rapid panic. According to coalition intelligence, humans have documented over 3,000 tactical protocols. But these files suggest they also have something called field adaptations and situation-specific innovations. 3,000 protocols. The aliens had exactly 47 standard combat procedures. The humans had 3,000, plus the ability to create new ones on the spot. Sir, Captain Rix's voice came through the emergency channel. I need to suspend advanced warfare theory class. My students are asking me to explain how humans can coordinate without technology, and I don't have an answer. Professor Cole's communication followed immediately. General, I'm canceling xenobiology combat analysis. The students are questioning whether humans are actually primitive, and according to my own research, they appear to be correct. Commander Vaktool's voice was the final nail in the coffin. Strategic Command class is hereby suspended. The students are asking if we should be learning human tactics instead of teaching them alien ones. 3 classes. Cancelled. The pride of the Galactic Coalition's military education system brought to its knees by 37 minutes of human combat footage. How? General Nex demanded, his voice echoing through the crisis management room. How did our intelligence get it so wrong? How did we classify a species capable of this level of tactical sophistication as primitive? The answer came from an unexpected source, Student Tell, whose voice somehow made it through the general communication channel. Sir, I think I know why we made this mistake. Speak, cadet. We measured human technology and assumed it reflected their intelligence. But what if humans developed superior tactics because their technology was limited? What if being primitive made them more creative, not less? The implications hit the room like a shockwave. The aliens had advanced technology, so they never needed to develop advanced tactics. Humans had primitive technology, so they developed tactics that made technology irrelevant. Sir, Commander Vaktool's voice carried the tone of someone witnessing the end of the world. Marcus Kane's team has just achieved total victory, with 14 minutes and 37 seconds remaining on the clock. Total victory. Against superior numbers, superior technology, and superior firepower, using rocks, rope, and what appeared to be unshakable human optimism. General, Professor Cole's voice was hollow. I need to inform you that everything we've taught about human limitations is not just wrong. It's dangerous. If this is what one human team can accomplish, what could their entire military do? The question hung in the air like a sword of Damocles. The Galactic Coalition, with all its advanced technology and superior intellect, it had just watched their entire military doctrine get dismantled by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Sir, Student Tell's voice came through one final time. There's something else. The human Marcus Kane is smiling. He's been smiling the entire time. Smiling. The human had been enjoying himself while systematically proving that the galaxy's most advanced military academy was teaching its students how to lose wars. And they still had 14 minutes and 37 seconds left to find out what else humans could do when they were having fun. The academy-wide emergency meeting convened in the largest auditorium Corith Prime had to offer, and it still wasn't big enough to contain the panic. Every instructor, every administrator, and every senior student crowded into the space, their collective breathing creating a sound like an atmospheric processor having a nervous breakdown. General Nex stood at the podium, his ceremonial uniform looking somewhat less impressive than it had that morning. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted species, he began, his voice carrying the weight of someone about to deliver very bad news. We have a problem. Commander Vaktool raised a trembling claw. Sir, should we inform Coalition Command about this development? Inform them of what? Exactly? General Nex's laugh held no humor whatsoever. That we've discovered humans aren't primitive? That our entire military doctrine is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of Deathworlder capabilities? That we've been preparing our students to fight an enemy that doesn't exist while completely ignoring the enemy that does? The auditorium fell silent, except for the sound of Student Tell quietly sobbing in the back row. The poor cadet had watched his entire worldview crumble in 37 minutes, and he wasn't handling it well. Professor Cole stood up, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled hysteria. Sir, I've been analyzing the implications of today's educational experience. If humans can accomplish this level of tactical superiority with primitive equipment, what happens when they gain access to our technology? They don't need our technology, Captain Rix interjected, his voice hollow. They've proven that superior tactics beat superior technology every time. We've been building better weapons while they've been building better soldiers. The realization rippled through the crowd like a virus. The Galactic Coalition had spent centuries developing advanced military hardware, assuming that technological superiority guaranteed victory. Humans had spent those same centuries learning how to win without it. Sir, Student Tell's voice carried across the auditorium, what do we do now? How do we fight an enemy that turns our advantages into weaknesses? General Nex looked around the room at the faces of the galaxy's supposedly finest military minds, all staring at him with the desperate hope that he had answers. He didn't. He didn't. We don't fight them, he said finally. We hope they never decide to fight us. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The mighty Galactic Coalition, masters of the galaxy, advanced beyond measure, reduced to hoping that a species they'd dismissed as primitive would continue to ignore them. Meeting adjourned, General Nex announced, all military assessments of human capabilities are to be classified at the highest levels. No one speaks of this outside this room. As the crowd filed out in stunned silence, Commander Vaktul lingered behind. "Sir, what about the students? How do we explain why their classes were cancelled?" General Nex's mandibles twitched in what might have been amusement under different circumstances. "We tell them the truth, Commander. We tell them that sometimes the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy can learn something from Deathworlders who still throw rocks. After all, it was the only truth they had left.